Well, it says that we're live, so let me know with the 5x5 if we're good. I'm gonna take a drink of water because yes, I do drink something other than just Red Bull and the occasional coffee. How's everybody doing? Let's see who we got in here. No, we had Jack. Jack, any freedom that you have to apply for, pay for, it's not freedom. So yes, there's that. Robin Prater, thank you for being here. Black Cat, as always. Down the rabbit hole with D. That's anyway. Lions of Cornwall, thank you. Pilgrim, thank you for being here. Everybody, thank you. Dome Seeker in here playing a little Miss Hostess, having conversations about Christmas. Joe Morgan, hey, been a while, buddy. Robert Winslow, thanks for being here. Anyway, if I missed anybody, I'm sorry. I know you're in there. Sherry, how are you doing? You can just call me D. All right, D. Russia fears the United States. Now, I know you turn on the news and everybody's talking about, oh, Russia's afraid of, we're going to crush Russia. Not exactly what they're afraid of, according to Vladimir Putin himself. All right. Now, before we get into this, if you get a chance after this live stream sometime today, tonight, whatever, take your time. It should be in the description. I'm not good at adding things. I'm not tech savvy. Technology is surpassing my abilities, but I try. There's a YouTube channel called Traveling with Russell. All right. So I should have put the hashtag in there. I tried. I don't know if I did it right, but it might be in the description. Go check out that channel just so you get an idea, just to verify what I'm saying here. All right. It's been a couple years almost 2 years since we've put sanctions on Russia, this, that, and the other. And he goes through Moscow. He goes through the Kremlin. This kid he's going all over Russia, giving a current what it's like in Russia. And I watched one of his ones where he went through a supermarket. All right. Let me just give you an idea how horrible life in Russia is right this second with all of our sanctions. Their supermarket is similar to a Winn-Dixie. In fact, it's called Dixie, the one he went into, but it's written in Russian, so I can't read that. A Kroger, if you're familiar with Kroger, or a Piggly Wiggly. They're very much similar to that, one of those three. All right. But a loaf of bread was less than $1. If you took their money and converted it to our money, it was less than $1 for a loaf of bread. Shelves full. All the shelves were completely full, by the way. Apples were 50 cents a pound. Milk was $1.80 a gallon. Cans of tuna were 89 cents. A tube of Oreos, not like the whole package, they had tubes of Oreos. They were 59 cents. A Pepsi, a 20-ounce Pepsi, was $1.20. A Coke, which is funny because figure Coke and Pepsi, they're basically the same when we buy them here in the United States. But over there, it was 80 cents for a 20-ounce Coke. All right, name brand Coke. All right, which, because of sanctions, Pepsi and Coke aren't supposed to actually be in Russia, but they're there. All right. Eggs. Now, the weird thing about Russia is they don't sell a dozen eggs. We buy eggs by the dozen. They sell them in these funky little 10 packs. It's basically like a dozen eggs with the last two chopped off. These funky little 10 packs. They were less than $1. I think they were like 89 cents for 10 eggs. All right. In the grocery store. Financially, economically, how are they doing compared to you? Okay, just something for you to think about, chew on a little bit. I pay a few dollars for eggs for a dozen. I could literally buy 3 times the amount of eggs in Russia for the same price I pay here, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. All right. And as you watch these videos, or if you actually get on there and look at videos of life, everyday life within the Russian borders, that place, the big orange place, you will see that the people there very much mirror our own in a lot of ways. In a few ways, they don't. All right. But in most ways. So, one thing I want you to think about, all right, especially my diehard patriots, my 3%ers out there. We were raised in an era of fight the commies, the Red Dawn era, okay? Communism to us is just a word that makes our blood pressure start to rise, all right? Regardless of age, for the most part. But if you actually on the ground look at what's going on, first off, communism doesn't rule Russia anymore. All right. 1991, collapse of the Soviet Union. That's when communism basically died in the Russian government. I mean, it's still there, just like in America. We have socialists, avowed socialists in our government. Okay. Look at Bernie Sanders. He's admitted, he's like, I'm a socialist. All right. So, yes, are there still communists there? Yes. Does communism still run Russia? No. So this fear of I'm going to, Red Dawn, I'm going to fight the commies when the Russians come. Well, if you're going to fight the commies when the Russians come, you might need like 5 bullets, okay? Because if the Russians ever come, there's probably going to be about that many communists amongst their ranks, based off of just their population. So we need to shift our mindset away from the communist threat of Russia. No, the communist threat of China, yes, they're full bore Communist Party. Yeah, the CCP, Chinese Communist Party. Russia, not so more. It's that boogeyman that the government likes to throw out there. So you need to realize that they are predominantly a capitalist nation. Yes, they are authoritarian as shit. Okay, almost dictatorial. Okay, but capitalist. They are almost like what we used to be in the 50s and the 40s. Okay, almost like that, but not communist. If this guy's working for a paycheck, he's keeping most of his paycheck and spending it to buy other stuff. All right. Supply and demand is alive and thriving in the Russian state. Okay. So don't just believe me. You can go and look for it on the web, on the YouTube as you see fit. All right. But on to the topic. Russia. It's like the Brady Bunch. Marcia. It's all we hear is Russia. But Russia claims that the West has expanded, and that's why there's this issue in Ukraine right now. Well, let's verify one way or another whether the West has expanded. And if you look at the map right here, you see all this black? These are the countries that became members of NATO after the fall of the Soviet Union. So as of 1991 to present, those black ones, all those, there's 12 of them that have become a part of NATO. Now, before anybody goes, well, that's okay. Listen, why was NATO created? NATO, for those that don't know, I know some of you will know, NATO was created with the sole purpose of protecting other nations in Europe from the Soviet communist spread, the threat of the Soviet Union. So once it fell in 1991, there was no need for NATO anymore because, I got this guard here. I'm going to create this society, this organization to protect against this threat. Well, once the threat no longer exists, there's no need for the organization. You can try all you want to argue against that, but that is just common sense and logic. This is created for a threat. Threat no longer exists. No need for this anymore. But it did. Why? Because as a lot of you know, NATO is just the United States government's way to just express and enforce its own will throughout the globe. Okay. And so, yes, we expanded clear up onto the Russian border. Now, you remember that thing called the Bay of Pigs down here, where Russia tried to expand its influence near our borders? Didn't end so well. We don't want others doing that. So is there really something wrong with them not wanting us doing the same thing? Because every NATO country, and all these countries, most of these countries out here, which I didn't mark, are NATO already. They were NATO before the collapse of the Soviet Union. So, okay, I'll give them a pass. All right. This is Ukraine, which goes right up to the Russian border. The only real countries left are Ukraine and Belarus. All right. If those two went NATO, then there'd just be Russia and the U.S., call the NATO U.S., right up beside each other. And why do I say NATO is the U.S.? Because in every NATO country, we have all kinds of nasty weapons of war, and they're not pointed towards the West. They're pointed towards Russia. Everything from short range, medium range, long range missiles to intercontinental ballistic missiles. Everything from traditional military warheads to nuclear warheads. I would say that would pose a threat to the Russian Federation. Now, Russia is currently a authoritarian republic. Okay, they're a republic. Where have I heard that word before? Yes. So we are. Anyway, and becoming more authoritarian here every year, a little bit more. So, okay, they're correct. Putin was correct. The West has expanded. The West wants power is another one of his claims. I mean, it's hard to argue against that. That's just, yes. The West plotted to send nukes to Ukraine. Well, if you actually do just a little bit of research, you will find that Ukraine, from after 2014, had started having dialogue with the U.S. government and representatives that traveled to Ukraine about possibly becoming NATO, and if granted status as a NATO territory, if they could, have nuclear weapons on their territory. So again, that's factual. All right. What else? Russia claims that it was open to dialogue to stop, to cease the war in Ukraine, for lack of a better, the conflict. Okay. Now, anyone who doesn't believe that the Russians were open to dialogue, I want you to think about one thing. How many times have we heard the government, people in government, talk about, we shouldn't be talking to Iran. We shouldn't be talking to North Korea. People gave the orange man bad such grief for talking to North Korea, for going actually into North Korea and talking to Kim Jong, whichever. Okay, I always confuse the two, Il-un, whoever. All right, but not talking to your enemy is a surefire way for conflict. Talking, dialogue is how you resolve issues peacefully. So you either A, want to have dialogue and talk and possibly have things resolved peacefully, or you don't talk and you do it the other way. All right. The United States government thrives off of warfare. We do, at least not us, them, the politicians. I mean, we see it every day. So I would say that old Vladdy Pooty Poot was probably not lying when he said he was open to dialogue, but we weren't, because that's the standard operating procedure. That's the modus operandi of the U.S. government. We won't talk to you until bad shit happens. Then once we're trying to rebuild your society after we've collapsed it, then we'll make the rules. That's our standard MO. All right. Does the U.S. want power? Well, I don't know. We're the only country in the world with 800 military bases outside of our borders. Think about that. Think about that. No other superpower. Russia doesn't have that. China doesn't have that. We have that. We have that. We are literally everywhere. Everywhere. We have a military presence everywhere on every continent, even Antarctica. We have a U.S. government presence. Okay. So everything he says in his speeches, whether you like it or not, is factual. Okay. So what do they fear? What do they fear? Do they fear we'll dominate them? No. According to Putin's own words, which we've already established, he tends to speak his mind and tends to not bullshit. He tends to be factual. He said basically, I'm going to surmise this. All right, it's not going to be exact quotes because I just jotted some stuff down. But he said, look at what the U.S. has done to their own citizens. All right. He said they have focused on the destruction of the family, destruction of national and cultural identity. The perversion of children and pedophilia are the norm in the United States. Priests are now forced to conduct same-sex marriages. The Anglo-American churches are conceiving the idea of a gender-neutral God. And he said, we must defend our children from this moral degradation. So, thanks, mull that over a bit. These are the things that they're worried about. All right. This is the thing that they're concerned about, their future, the moral degradation of society. All right. Yeah, you know what? That seems to be what I'm willing to bet that's a lot of the same things that I'm talking to you, looking right through the screen. I'm talking to each and every one of you. I'm willing to bet that that's what most of you are worried about as well. Well, I'll have you know that for the most part, it's too late for us. All right. And I know people won't like this, but people are like, oh, well, this doesn't represent America. No, it doesn't represent you. What makes America is the United States government, whether you like that or not. There's no debating it. When we talk about Israel, we're talking about the Israeli government. When we talk about Russia, we're not talking about the people at the supermarket. We're talking about the Russian government. When we talk about Canada, we're not talking about Canadians that come across the border and are like, hey, and all happy and cheerful and bring syrup and shit. We're talking about Trudeau, the government. When we refer to countries, we refer to their governments because their governments are the direct representative of that nation. And so America is, by that standard, is woke. Okay? Whether you like it or not. Now, I know a lot of people are going to lose their minds. I'll lose subscribers on that. I don't care because you need to call a spade a spade. You need to admit reality. All right. That American flag that I fought for, that our forefathers fought for, now stands for something that we don't. I know you want. I'm making conservative heads explode with that statement. It stands for woke. What defines reality? Third-party perspective. The rest of the world sees woke when they see the U.S. flag. So that is now what it stands for. America, as you know it, as I knew it, died, and something else has taken its place. All right? Now, it can come back. You can revive it, but it's going to be ugly, brutal, and bloody. Okay? So there's that. And yes, Hunter Moon, it's sad. It's sad. And too many people will stand there, try burning this one. Why? It's the same one that the woke guy's wearing over there. I mean, the policies that flag represents are woke as hell. So, I mean, why would I want to burn it? Why would anybody want to? I mean, because, other than people who are against woke, all right, again, as I said, there is woke and anti-woke. And we need to stop dividing ourselves based off of whether we're a Jew, a Christian, or a Muslim, or whether we're black or white, or some shade in between, like my kids, kind of yellow. All right. And yes, that's what their mother refers to them as, is yellow. So, red and yellow, black and white. Okay. We all know the song. But we need to start dividing ourselves based off of woke and not woke. And you will see this on the news. You'll see the right now on TV, the conservatives, the conservatives, they're supporting Israel, while the left is saying supporting Palestinians. Okay, and then you'll see the opposite supporting Ukraine and condemning Russia, and it'll flip back and forth. But in reality, Israel is so woke that it's the same as Ukrainians, which are the same as Californians. Okay? It is. But let me hop in the chat here and see what we got. If we have any questions, comments, queries, posers. Afternoon, KY Survival. I always smile with that because I think back of how it took me a while to let it sink in. Smash the thumbs up, y'all. Thank you, Silverback. Silverback on 1 acre. Silverback. Are you formerly just Silverback? Because Chris, is that you? What else we got? Okay, Globe. Oh my. We hear you, Warlord. Well, thank you, Hunter Moon. What do we have here? If we don't fix it, they will, and they will go real bad for us. Yes, Scott C. Things will either end up in our favor or in their favor, the way we want things to be or the way they want things to be. There is no coexistence. We've talked about this before. There is no two-state solution for us. I mean, there's a 50-state solution. You can take yours and go over there. We'll take ours and go over here, but then it's going to be a mess. But mark my words, either they will get rid of you or you will get rid of them. It's inevitable. One thing must dominate the other thing. It's nature. Even if you don't believe in God, but you believe in natural law, this eats this or this eats that. You are either predator or you are prey. Okay? Thank you all for being here. Let me see. Mama Jen said, there will never be a political answer to a spiritual problem. If you actually read, and I know you read the King James Version. I know you do, because I've seen you in other chats talking about it. And we'll talk about that on a discussion tonight around 8 o'clock if you want to be back here. But if you actually read the Bible, hop in there, the Torah or the Quran, out of 3 of the Abrahamic books, all right, you will see that it is fundamentally political, all right? Politics and religion go hand in hand. They were designed like that way. Politics is how you govern a society. Those books say how God wants you to govern your society. So they are not mutually exclusive. They are actually very tightly knit together. But a lot of people don't pay attention to that. All right? So Tonight, it's going to be a bit preachy, maybe a bit not. I'll definitely upset some people. I try not to use the PO word. I'm going to upset some people. I'm going to hurt some feelings. You might unsubscribe. So come back, get offended. All right. Till then, have a good day. God bless. Thanks all of you for being here. Okay. I appreciate each and every one of you for taking your time to come and have a chat. God bless, and I'll talk to you later. I'm out.